This episode is part of an ongoing story. If you're new here, you might want to start with episode 1. Previously, on what happens between the scenes.
She told herself that the show fueled her excitement, and not the fact that she'd be spending a lot of extra time with Lee now.
And now, the story continues.
On Saturday morning, Emma walked into her step aerobics class at 9:45, a full 15 minutes before it started. She liked being prepared, even when nothing ever went wrong. The instructor was setting up the music when she suddenly called out, "Oh my, do we have men for our class today?" Emma glanced back to see Lee and a handsome friend standing at the door. Lee pointed to her and said, "I just wanted to talk to my friend." Walking over to him, she said, "I didn't know you worked out here. Why have I never seen you before?" "We just switched over to this place last week," he said. "I didn't know you worked out here either." Then, pointing to his friend, he said, "This is Chris." "I'm Lee's roommate," said Chris. He held out his hand to shake hers. She couldn't help noticing his rippled body and dark blonde goatee. Facial hair had always appealed to her. Women streamed into the room, staring at the three of them standing together. "Emma, why don't you convince your friends to stay?" asked Sandy, the instructor. She looked to be in her mid-40s with dark, curly hair. "Or can't they handle a step class?" Emma laughed. "She's goading you. If you stay, it'll attract more women to the class." Chris looked at Lee. "I believe she just challenged us. I think I'll stick around. Can't handle a step class, my ass." Lee shrugged and followed suit. They grabbed a step and set up on either side of Emma. So much for being done with Lee outside of the workshop. She had to admit, something about his showing up suddenly made her happy. An older woman who Emma didn't recognize looked back and asked, "Which one of these handsome fellas is yours, honey?" "Oh, we're a throuple," Emma laughed. Lee laughed so hard he nearly choked on nothing but air. "I'm kidding, ma'am," Emma said when the lady looked shocked. She motioned to Chris. "I just met this guy, and the other one is my scene partner in theater class." The music started, and Emma delighted in watching Lee and Chris learn the steps. When they got sweaty, they both removed their shirts, provoking a cheer from the other women. Emma giggled, almost embarrassed, but Lee and Chris seemed to take it as a compliment. They moved along with the exercise moves, and Sandy called out some intermediate steps going over to the front of the bench. Before Emma knew what was happening, Chris smacked into her from the side, throwing his arms around her to catch her before she fell. He steadied the both of them, and then spoke into her ear to avoid screaming over the music. "I'm so sorry." "It's totally fine," she said. For the rest of the class, Lee wore a scowl Emma couldn't quite place. After an hour, Sandy wrapped things up and they all gulped water, patting the sweat from their skin with gym towels. "Want a sweaty hug?" Lee asked Emma. "Do you?" Assuming he was teasing, she held her arms out to him. To her utter surprise, he grabbed her and playfully swiped his chest against her. "Oh my gosh, Lee, I thought you were kidding." The busybody Emma had embarrassed earlier passed by the three of them on her way out. Right out in the open where everyone could hear, she pointed to Lee and said, "That one likes you, honey." Taken aback, Emma shook her head. "No, he was just being silly," she said. The woman had no way of knowing about Kira. Still, the assumption gave her a pang of sadness, probably because deep down she knew she never had a shot. "If you say so," the woman said. Lee was grinning when Emma faced him again. He said nothing about the woman. Instead, he said, "We did your thing. Come do the machines with us now." She accepted, and he guided her out of the room with his hand on her back once again. "I hope she didn't make you uncomfortable," Emma told him. "I don't know why people always assume we're together." "Well, it couldn't be the hugging or the touching," Chris said. Emma grinned. She knew every touch didn't always mean something. Lee had always been a hands-on type of guy, and she took it in a friendly way. Still, she made herself focus on the workout, hoping she wouldn't look ridiculous. The machines had always intimidated her, but the guys talked her through each station, adjusting the weights without teasing when she struggled. By the end, she felt more capable than she had walking in and made a quiet promise to herself that she'd use the machines again sometime. When they finished, she told them she had to hit the shower to get ready for work. Lee asked if she had time for practice that evening, which she did, and they agreed to meet at his apartment after work. As she clocked out for the day, Emma found a text from Lee telling her not to eat, as he would bring takeout for all of them. He waited tables at Luigi's, the Italian restaurant downtown. Grateful for his thoughtfulness, she picked up a chocolate cake from the bakery on her way out. When she arrived at their apartment, Emma was struck by how different Lee's life looked compared to Kira's. A brown blanket with holes covered the couch, and the only other furniture was a broken recliner stuck in the reclined position. She didn't want to imagine why the blanket was necessary. She set the cake on the card table in the middle of the room. "I got chicken parm, I hope that's okay," Lee said, grabbing 3 forks as she followed him back into the living room. Emma dug in, taking Chris by surprise. "Most girls pick at their plates and act like they're not hungry," he said. "Girls do that when they're trying to impress someone," she replied. Chris smiled. "So what you're saying is you're not trying to impress me?" "No, sweetie, I'm not." He looked mildly disappointed, though he seemed to expect the answer. "You still have to kiss Lee, though." "Yeah, but he's eating the same thing, so if he's not worried, why should I be?" Lee reached out and touched her arm, trying not to spit his food out, laughing. "You are so adorable," he said. He relaxed after that, and she wondered if his scowl at the gym had been about Chris. But why would he care? Maybe she was imagining it. Either way, having Chris there felt safer, and she wondered if Lee thought that too. She enjoyed the food and conversation and decided not to think further on it. When they got around to rehearsing, Chris asked what had gone wrong with the kiss the day Lee had gotten carried away. "He ate my face," Emma said. You ate my face back," Lee argued. Emma shook her head in mock denial. "It was all him. Couldn't beat him back with a stick." "I don't blame him," Chris said. "Let me see how you did it." Emma paused. "Wait, what?" "I can't help you fix it if I don't see it. You're doing this for the show. Get serious." She looked to Lee. "You okay with that?" Lee asked. "Last time you said my lips weren't to get anywhere near yours." Remembering poking her finger into his face made her giggle. Those were different circumstances. She straightened as if bracing herself. "I really want to get it right. It's fine." Lee didn't wait for cues or lines. As if she might change her mind, he grabbed her, repeating the hold he'd used before. He kissed her like he'd been starving for days. Always swept away by his intensity, Emma clutched his yellow t-shirt, remembering how that kiss had ended the night of the benefit. "Whoa, you guys kissed like that with Kira watching?" Chris asked. The mention of Lee's longtime girlfriend killed the spark instantly. Emma pulled away, remorse in her eyes. "Yep, and she already didn't like me from day one." "Don't worry, she doesn't like me either," Chris said. "So what is the kiss about?" "They're saying goodbye," Emma said, her voice carrying the tragedy of the story. "Yeah, that kiss doesn't say goodbye," Chris said. "It says hello, baby." He asked them to start again so he could gauge the mood. Before taking his place, Lee held out his fist. "Thanks, dude." Chris bumped it. "Lucky bastard." Emma hid her face in her hands as the guys laughed. When they reached the tricky section again, Chris stood and took Emma in his arms. What if he leans her back slightly and just holds his lips to hers for a long pause? Like this. He demonstrated, his lips lightly pressed to hers. The contact startled her, but she didn't mind. Funny how different kissing people could feel. None of the electricity she felt with Lee came through with Chris. "Something like that could work," Emma said. Lee's phone rang and he stepped out to take the call. "Kira," Chris said. "She calls him every break. What's with you two anyway?" "What do you mean?" "He's really possessive of you. He practically threatened me about getting near you." So she hadn't imagined it. Instinctively, she covered for Lee. "I think he just doesn't want things to get awkward. If you and I tried something and it didn't work, he'd be stuck in the middle." It sounded right, though she wasn't sure she believed it. Chris raised an eyebrow. Maybe, but he sure didn't like that I kissed you. Lee returned, cutting the conversation short. Chris moved to try the suggestion again, but Lee pulled him away. I've got it from here. You watch and tell us what to adjust. Chris mouthed, told you. Later, when Chris stepped out of the room, Lee asked her if the first kiss bothered her. No, I was expecting it this time. It's just weird, she said. Weird how? You're a talented actor, Lee. I can't tell the difference from when you're putting on a show and when you meant it. His arrogant grin almost set her off until he asked, And you think I can always tell the difference with you?
Thanks for listening to What Happens Between the Scenes. You can find this story and future episodes on YouTube by searching Laura Purple Butterfly. You can also find our podcast wherever you get your podcasts by searching the Purple Butterfly Archives.
Street lights.